Have you ever caught your dog staring at you from across the room with those deep, soulful eyes and felt a sudden pang of uncertainty? Like maybe, just maybe, they're trying to tell you something you are not hearing. We brush their coats. We fill their bowls with the best food we can afford. We call them our best friends, our fur babies, our loyal companions. But here is what researchers have discovered that might shake you. Studies suggest that a significant number of dogs living in loving homes still carry chronic stress in their bodies. That is not dogs in shelters or rescue situations. That is dogs sleeping in warm beds. Dogs who've never missed a meal. Dogs whose owners would do absolutely anything for them. So what is going wrong? The truth is, some of the most damaging things we do to our dogs happen in the quietest moments. Not through cruelty or neglect, but through simple misunderstandings, through habits we've never questioned, through tiny fractures in communication that, over time, can completely reshape how our dogs see us. Your dog won't tell you when you've hurt them. They can't sit you down and explain that something you did last Tuesday is still echoing in their mind. But they will remember, and some things, once done, change the relationship forever. Today we're going to walk through 7 things your dog secretly hates but will never be able to tell you in words. And the first one I'm going to share with you, it is probably the most shocking because it is something almost every single dog owner does multiple times every single day without realizing the damage it is causing. In fact, when I learned about this, I immediately changed my own behavior, and within just 3 days, I saw a completely different dog. So let's dive straight into it. 1. Leaving without warning. Picture this. You're running late for work, keys in one hand, coffee in the other, mind already 3 steps ahead to your first meeting. Your dog is lying on their bed, watching you with those knowing eyes. You grab your jacket, check your phone one last time, and then you're out the door. No goodbye, no acknowledgement, just gone. To you, it is efficiency. To your dog, it is something else entirely. See, dogs don't experience time the way we do. They don't have calendars or clocks or the ability to rationalize that you'll be back in 8 hours. What they have is pattern recognition. And when the pattern suddenly breaks when you're there 1 second and vanish the next, their nervous system floods with a question they can't answer. Did something happen? Are you coming back? What did I do wrong? Research on canine behavior has shown that dogs who experience sudden, unpredictable departures can show elevated stress responses that last for extended periods, sometimes the entire time their owner is gone. Their stress doesn't peak when the door closes. It starts the moment the unpredictable pattern begins. Now imagine that happening 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year. What starts as a small spike of uncertainty slowly builds into chronic anxiety. Your dog begins scanning for signs. You're about to disappear. They start following you from room to room, not out of affection, but out of fear that if they look away, you'll vanish again. And here is the part that breaks my heart. You might interpret that clinginess as neediness. You might even get frustrated by it. But what you're actually seeing is a nervous system trying desperately to predict the unpredictable. The fix. It is almost embarrassingly simple. 30 seconds. That is all it takes to create a departure ritual your dog can rely on. A consistent phrase, a gentle touch, a small treat placed in the same spot every time. Not a dramatic, emotional farewell that amps up their anxiety, but a calm, predictable signal that says, I'm leaving and I will return, just like I always do. When you give your dog the anchor, something remarkable happens. Their stress response doesn't spike as intensely, their breathing stays steady. And instead of spending the day in low-grade panic, they settle into rest because the pattern told them everything they needed to know. Have you ever noticed your dog watching you get ready to leave? That is not just interest, that is vigilance. And the question is, are you giving them certainty or feeding their worry? But leaving without warning is just the beginning, because what you do right before you walk out that door might be making everything worse. 2. Long, emotional goodbyes. Think about the last time you left your dog for the day. Did you kneel down? Wrap them in a hug, look into their eyes and say something like, don't worry, I'll be back soon, I promise, be a good boy. Did you stroke their head over and over while your voice got softer and more emotional? If you did, you are not alone. Most dog owners do this, and most have no idea they're accidentally teaching their dog that departure is a crisis. Here is what is happening beneath that sweet moment. Dogs are masters at reading emotional energy, not just your words but your tone, your body language, the subtle shift in your scent when stress hormones enter your bloodstream. When you make your goodbye long and emotional, your dog doesn't hear, I love you and I'll miss you. They hear, something big and possibly dangerous is about to happen. Animal behavior studies have found that dogs whose owners give long, emotional goodbyes tend to show higher levels of stress, related behaviors, pacing, whining, destructive chewing, even self-soothing actions like excessive licking. The owners thought they were offering comfort. The dogs experienced it as confirmation that being left alone was something to fear. And here is where it gets tricky. Once that association sets in, your dog doesn't just react to you leaving. They react to the pre-departure routine. The moment you pick up your keys, put on your shoes, grab your bag, their anxiety starts climbing. By the time you are kneeling down for that emotional goodbye, their nervous system is already in overdrive. It is a cycle that feeds itself. You see them anxious, so you try to soothe them with more affection, but that extra affection confirms their fear, which makes them more anxious next time, which makes you feel worse, which makes you give an even longer goodbye. The healthiest thing you can do, treat your departure like it is no big deal, because to a confident, secure dog, it isn't. A calm, see you later, a consistent routine, and then you are gone. No fanfare, no drama, just the quiet certainty that this is normal, unremarkable, and nothing to worry about. When you shift your energy from emotional to matter of fact, your dog's energy shifts too. They stop bracing for catastrophe and start trusting the pattern, and that trust is worth more than 1,000 tear-filled goodbyes. So ask yourself, are your goodbyes comforting your dog, or are they teaching them that leaving is something to fear? Now, even if you've mastered the art of calm departures, there is another way you might be accidentally breaking trust, and it starts with something as simple as calling their name. 3. Using their name for unpleasant things. Imagine this. Your dog is sprawled in a sunny patch of carpet, completely relaxed. You call out their name, bright and cheerful. Their ears perk up, their tail gives a little thump. They scramble to their feet and trot over to you, eyes shining with anticipation. And then you clip the leash on and head straight for the car. Destination: the vet. Or maybe you call them over, they come running, and instead of a treat or a scratch behind the ears, you grab them and start trimming their nails, something you know they hate, or you scoop them up and plop them into the bathtub while they're still trying to figure out what is happening. To you, these are just necessary parts of life. To your dog, they're betrayals, wrapped in the sound of their own name. Dogs learn through association faster than almost any other species, and one of the strongest associations they build is between their name and what happens immediately after they hear it. When you use their name to lure them into something unpleasant, you are not just tricking them once. You are teaching them that the sound they love most in the world, the sound that means you, might be a warning instead of a welcome. Do it enough times and you'll start to notice something. They don't come as quickly when you call. They hesitate. They approach with their body low, tail uncertain, eyes checking your hands for clues. That is not defiance. That is a dog trying to calculate risk. And here is the danger. If their name becomes unreliable, you lose one of the most important safety tools you have. The day they slip out the front door, or they're heading towards something dangerous, or you need them to come to you right now, that split second of hesitation could be the difference between safe and sorry. So how do you protect the power of their name? You make it sacred. Their name should only ever predict good things. Treats, play, affection, attention. If you need to do something they won't enjoy, go get them. Walk over, use a calm voice, guide them gently, but don't call them to you and then break the promise their name carries. Some trainers even recommend having a separate cue for unpleasant necessities, a different word, a different tone, something that doesn't poison the well of their primary recall, because once trust in their name is damaged, rebuilding it takes weeks, sometimes months of consistent positive reinforcement. Think about the last few times you called your dog. What happened next? Did their name lead to something they wanted, or something you needed? And if it has been weighted too heavily toward the latter, maybe it is time to rebalance the scales. Your dog's name should make them feel like they just won the lottery, not like they're about to gamble and lose. But even when we're careful with their name, there is another place where confusion creeps in, and it happens because we forget that our dogs aren't mind readers. 4. Constantly changing commands. Let's say you've worked hard to teach your dog one simple command: sit. You practice it every day, treat in hand, clear voice, consistent gesture, and your dog nails it. Every single time you say sit, their bottom hits the floor like magic. But then one day, you are in a hurry and you say, sit down. Another day, you try, take a seat. Your friend comes over and says, can you make him sit? So you look at your dog and say, go on, park it. And suddenly, your dog is staring at you like you are speaking a foreign language. Because to them, you are. Here is what we forget. Dogs don't understand synonyms. They don't instinctively know that. Sit, sit down, have a seat, and park it all mean the same thing. To them, each phrase is a completely separate sound with no inherent connection to the others. When you switch up the words, you are not giving them options, you are giving them confusion. And the damage goes deeper than just one command. When a dog repeatedly tries to obey and can't figure out what you want because the words keep changing, They start to doubt themselves, their confidence erodes, they begin to hesitate before responding to any command because they're not sure if what worked last time will work this time. Behavioral scientists have observed patterns where animals exposed to inconsistent cues can develop what is called learned helplessness. It happens when an animal tries to succeed, but the rules keep shifting, so eventually they stop trying. They shut down, not because they're stubborn or unintelligent, but because effort stopped leading to reward. The solution is almost too simple. Pick one word per command, just one. Use the same tone every time. Pair it with the same hand signal if you can, and then protect that consistency like it is gold. If everyone in your household is involved in training, sit down together and agree on the exact words you'll use. Write them down if you have to, because every time you swap come for here or stay for wait, you are asking your dog to learn a whole new skill instead of reinforcing the one they already know. Consistency isn't about being rigid, it is about being clear, and clarity is one of the greatest gifts you can give a dog trying to navigate a human world. So here is the question. If someone followed you around for a week and wrote down every command you gave your dog, how many different ways would they find you saying the same thing? Now, we're about halfway through, and if you are finding this valuable, do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss insights like these. Thousands of dog owners have already transformed their relationships with their pets just by understanding these subtle mistakes, and there is so much more coming that you won't want to miss. Seriously, the next 3 points get even deeper, and number 6 is something that shocked me when I first learned about it. Alright, let's keep going. Now, let's talk about something that happens after the mistake has already been made, because timing, it turns out, is everything. 5. Punishing them after the fact. You come home from work and find a scene of destruction. Trash scattered across the kitchen floor, a chewed up shoe, a puddle in the hallway. Your blood pressure spikes. You find your dog, and they give you that look. Ears back, eyes wide, body low, the famous guilty face. So you scold them. You point at the mess, raise your voice, maybe even rub their nose in it because someone once told you that is how they learn. But here is the truth that is going to sting a little. That guilty look, it is not guilt, it is fear, and your dog has absolutely no idea why you are upset. Research into canine cognition suggests that dogs live primarily in the present moment. They don't appear to have the cognitive ability to connect a punishment happening now with an action that happened hours ago. Their ability to link cause and effect is extremely time-sensitive, often just a few seconds. So when you come home and scold them for the trash, they don't think, "Oh, I shouldn't have gotten into the trash," they think, "The person I love just became angry and scary and I don't know why." That submissive posture, the cowering, the sad eyes, those aren't signs of understanding. They're appeasement behaviors. Your dog is trying to calm you down using the only tools they have. They're saying, "Please don't hurt me, I am not a threat." But they have no idea what they did to make you this way. And here is the heartbreaking part. If you punish them after the fact enough times, they don't learn not to get in the trash. They learn that sometimes, for reasons they can't predict, you become dangerous. So they start acting nervous around you even when they haven't done anything wrong. They begin to tiptoe through life, never quite sure when the next storm will hit. The only punishment that teaches is immediate correction. If you catch them in the act right as their nose is in the trash or their teeth are on the shoe, then yes, a firm no, and redirection can create a connection. But even then, the most effective approach isn't punishment at all, it is prevention and management. Can't trust them with the trash, put it somewhere they can't reach. Shoes getting destroyed, keep them in a closet. Accidents in the house. More frequent bathroom breaks and positive reinforcement when they go outside. And if you come home to a mess, take a deep breath, clean it up, and commit to setting them up for success tomorrow instead of punishing them for yesterday. Your dog isn't trying to spite you, they're just being a dog in an environment that didn't set them up to succeed. And the difference between an owner who understands that and one who doesn't, that is the difference between a dog who trusts you and one who fears you. Now, even when we avoid punishing after the fact, there is a kind of affection we give that many dogs secretly wish we wouldn't. 6. Hugging them. You love your dog, so naturally when you see them, you want to wrap them up in a hug. Arms around their body, pulling them close, holding tight. It feels warm, loving, connected. But here is what researchers have discovered. Many dogs actually don't enjoy being hugged. Studies analysing photographs of dogs being embraced have found that a large percentage show visible signs of stress or discomfort. Ears pinned back, whites of eyes showing, mouth tight, body stiff, leaning away. These aren't signs of a dog enjoying affection. These are signs of a dog tolerating something they find uncomfortable. And it makes sense when you think about it from their perspective. Dogs don't have arms. They don't hug each other. The closest thing to a hug in dog language is when one dog pins another with their front legs, usually during play that can escalate, or during conflict. So when you wrap your arms around them, especially from above, their instinct may read it as restraint, not affection. They can feel trapped, vulnerable. And even though they love you, even though they trust you most of the time, that primal part of their brain may be uncomfortable with the restriction. Now, does that mean you can never snuggle your dog? Of course not. Some dogs, especially those raised with gentle handling from puppyhood, learn to tolerate or even enjoy close contact. But the key word is learn. It is not necessarily natural, it is adaptation. The question is, can you tell the difference between a dog who has learned to love your hugs and a dog who is just enduring them because they love you? Watch their body language. Do they lean into you or pull away? Do they stay relaxed or go stiff? Do they lick their lips, yawn when they're not tired, or turn their head away? These are all subtle stress signals that most people miss. If you want to show affection in a way your dog naturally understands, try a chest scratch, a slow stroke down their back, sitting close without restraining them, even just being near them in calm, quiet companionship. Because love, real love, isn't about what makes you feel good. It is about what makes them feel safe. So next time you reach for that big bear hug, pause for just a second. Look at their body. Listen to what they're telling you without words. And if they're saying, "I'd rather not," respect that. Because respecting their boundaries is one of the deepest forms of love you can offer. But hugs aren't the only way we accidentally cross boundaries. Sometimes we do it in the gentlest moments, when they're at their most vulnerable. 7. Waking them up suddenly. Your dog is sound asleep, curled up, breathing slow and deep, maybe even twitching a little as they dream. It is so peaceful, so sweet, that you can't resist. You reach out and stroke their fur, or maybe you scoop them up because you want them on the couch with you. And they jolt awake, eyes wide, body tense. Sometimes they even snap. In that moment you might feel hurt, shocked. Why would they react like that? You were just showing love. But here is what you have to understand. When a dog is in deep sleep, they're not conscious. They're not aware of their surroundings. And when they're suddenly touched without warning, their brain doesn't have time to recognize it as you. All they know is that something has them, and their survival instinct kicks in before their conscious mind catches up. This reaction is sometimes called sleep startle, and it can be especially strong in dogs who've had difficult pasts. Rescues, strays, dogs from chaotic environments. But even dogs raised in loving homes can have this reaction because it is rooted in instinct, not trust. And here is the risk. If a dog wakes up in fear enough times, they may start to associate sleep with danger. They stop sleeping deeply. They stay in light sleep, always half alert, never fully resting. And chronic sleep disruption in dogs can lead to similar problems as it does in humans. Anxiety, irritability, weakened immune systems, behavioral issues. So how do you wake a sleeping dog safely? Use your voice first, call their name softly from a few feet away. Let them rouse naturally, giving their brain time to come online and recognize you. If you absolutely must touch them, do it gently on a less sensitive area, like their back or shoulder, never their face or paws. And honestly, if they're sleeping peacefully and there is no urgent reason to wake them, let them rest. Sleep is when their body heals, their mind processes, and their emotional reserves refill. Interrupting that for a cuddle that benefits you more than them isn't love, it is need. Your dog gives you their full attention when they're awake. The least you can do is give them uninterrupted peace when they're asleep. So before you reach for that sleeping pup, ask yourself, is this for them or is this for me? And if it is for you, maybe let them dream a little longer. Now, we've covered a lot of individual behaviors, but there is one overarching pattern that ties many of these mistakes together, and it is something that affects your dog every single day. The foundation: inconsistency. Imagine living in a world where the rules change without warning. Monday, you are allowed on the couch. Tuesday, you get scolded for it. Wednesday, jumping up to greet someone gets you laughed at. Thursday, the same behavior gets you pushed away and yelled at. How long before you'd stop trusting anything? This is the reality for millions of dogs living with inconsistent owners. Not cruel owners, not neglectful ones. Just humans who don't realize that what seems like flexibility to us feels like chaos to them. Dogs don't understand context the way we do. They don't know that it is okay to jump on you when you are in old clothes, but not when you are dressed for work. They don't grasp that begging is cute when it is just family, but embarrassing when guests are over. What they do understand is patterns. When X happens, Y follows. And when those patterns hold steady, they feel safe. They know how to behave. They know what to expect. Their nervous system can relax because the world makes sense. But when the patterns keep breaking, when the same action gets different responses depending on your mood, your energy, or who is watching, your dog lives in a state of constant uncertainty. And uncertainty is a major source of stress. Behavioral observations suggest that dogs raised with inconsistent rules are more likely to develop stress-related behaviors, excessive barking, destructive chewing, reactivity, not because they're bad dogs, but because they're trying to navigate an unpredictable environment. The fix requires something harder than technique. It requires self-awareness. You have to decide what the rules are and then enforce them the same way every time, regardless of how tired you are, how cute they're being, or how much easier it would be to let it slide. And if you live with other people, everyone has to be on the same page. If one person allows the dog on the furniture and another doesn't, you are not teaching the dog anything except that humans are unpredictable. Sit down with your household, write down the rules, stick to them, and watch how much calmer your dog becomes when they finally understand the game. Consistency isn't about being rigid or mean, it is about being trustworthy, and trust is the foundation everything else is built on. So here is the uncomfortable question. If your dog could write down the rules of your house, would they be the same rules you think you have? Or would their list be full of contradictions and confusion? Because at the end of the day, the rules don't exist in your head. They exist in what you actually do, day after day. So let's bring this all together. 7 things. 7 quiet ways we hurt the dogs we love, not through malice, but through misunderstanding. Leaving without warning, giving emotional goodbyes, using their name to lure them into unpleasant experiences, changing the words we use and expecting them to understand, punishing them long after the moment has passed, waking them from deep sleep and weaving through it all the chaos of inconsistency. None of these things make you a bad owner, they make you human, because the truth is, nobody teaches us how to see the world through a dog's eyes. We're all just doing our best with what we know. But now you know more. And the beautiful thing about dogs is they don't hold grudges, they don't keep score. The moment you start changing these patterns, they'll feel it, they'll respond, they'll begin to trust a little deeper, relax a little more, look at you with eyes that say, oh, you finally get it. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be willing to pay attention. To notice when your dog goes still instead of wagging, to catch the lip lick you've been missing, to ask yourself, is what I am about to do for them, or just for me? Because that is where love lives, not in the big gestures, but in the 100 small moments where you chose to see them, really see them, and adjust. Your dog has been trying to tell you these things all along, not with words, but with their body, their behavior, their quiet withdrawals and hesitations. And now that you know what to look for, you'll never miss those messages again. If this opened your eyes to something you've been missing, share it with another dog owner who might need to hear it. And if you want to keep learning how to love your dog in the language they actually speak, subscribe so you never miss what comes next. Because your dog deserves an owner who doesn't just love them, but understands them. And that owner, that is who you are becoming, one small change at a time.